So for our historical presentation, we decided to do McCrossen's Boys Ranch, and I'm Amanda, and also are doing this presentation with Allie and Carly. So McCrossen Boys Ranch is a nonprofit organization in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, that offers residents education and therapy for troubled youth. The focal population is boys between the ages of 9 and 20 who've experienced conflict in their lives. Most are referred by the Department of Social Services because they cannot be housed safely with a foster family or at home. The presenting issues include at-risk youth, juvenile delinquency, self-injurious behavior, self-mutilation, substance abuse, adolescent depression, ADD and ADHD, behavioral problems, sexual promiscuity, and academic problems.
So the purpose of the McCrossen's Boys Ranch. Melinda McCrossen directed a trust to be created for the purpose of creating a home for the elderly or some similar needs in Sioux Falls. In 1949, she found that one of the greatest needs was a home for boys. So McCrossen's values faith, hard work, education, equine, and cultural. So with faith, they offer an on-campus worship service in their chapel each Sunday. They give the boys the opportunity to attend weekly Bible studies, fellowship of Christian athletes, and other spiritual offerings. They also employ a chaplain to meet the spiritual needs and development of their youth. Hard work. They quote, work hard and play hard in their visitor center. They offer employment and volunteering options for all of the boys. For education, in the earlier years, boys went off campus to attend school. In 2006, their school earned full accreditation from the South Dakota Department of Education, and they can now issue high school diplomas. They have graduation ceremonies almost every other month. Equine. The ranch's equine program teaches youth all learning aspects of life with horses, from grooming, feeding, and tact to animal psychology, biology, and riding. There are so many different opportunities for the guys who participate there. Once they're comfortable around the horses, they can be part of the hitch crew, show in 4-H, and participate in regional parades and festivals. And then for cultural, they have a cultural advisor there who works with their youth to maintain cultural heritage. So they do things like cultural events, powwows, diversity fairs, celebrate holidays, eat cultural foods, and they also offer elective courses centered around culture and heritage.
But kind of going more into the founding of McCrossen's Boys Ranch, the founder was Melinda McCrossen. She was born and raised in Spearfish, South Dakota, and she met her husband, Barney McCrossen, and got married in 1886. He was a prominent businessman in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and it was noted in his obituary that he was, quote, ever interested in anything that would go towards advancing the interests of the city, and he will be missed by the poor of the city. He died in 1903, and then in 1948, she directed a trust in memory of her late husband, and she wanted this trust to be used to serve a population in need, like Allie had said. And Mrs. McCrossen, along with some trusted advisees in the community, decided that the greatest need was home for the boys. And then in 1953, the McCrossen Foundation Incorporated was founded. Linda raised and donated $831,000 to start McCrossen's Boys Ranch. And with this trust, they bought 4 buildings from the Sioux Falls Air Force Base that used to be used as hospitals in World War II. Then they moved these buildings to land that was at the time 8 miles out of Sioux Falls, where it still is today. And they had their official opening ceremony in 1955, and 4 months later, they accepted the first boys into the program. Only a year after the ranch's opening, though, Melinda McCrossen passed away. The original mission From the onset of the foundation, Mr. McCrossan intended that it was to create a home where boys can find new hope for a better life. Just like her husband, she was dedicated to finding ways to support Sioux Falls, and she felt like supporting the young men in the community would do that. She also was quoted saying that at the opening ceremony of the ranch, that with good food, moral support, religious training, and good education opportunities, these boys will grow to be the finest and best of young men.
Her legacy has transformed the lives of countless boys over the years and continues to do so today through the efforts of a devoted staff. Again, the official dedication took place in 1955. On May 8 of 1959, the ranch celebrated a milestone when one of its first boys graduated from high school. The ranch continued to expand, and the original barracks were eventually replaced by new brick cottages. Governor Nils Bowe dedicated the first of these brick buildings on October 23, 1966. In 1967, the McCrossan Auxiliary, led by Mrs. Mildred Robinson, was formed to support the ranch, a tradition that remains strong today. In 1970, Walter Schaefer became executive director of McCrossan's Boys Ranch, a role he held until 1997. In December of 1971, there was a fire that destroyed a barn which had been built in 1957. In 1973, the barn was replaced by a metal livestock center dedicated to a longtime trustee, Roy Hobson. In 1978, another big milestone, the ranch had launched its own on-campus special education program, which initially took place in the Mathers Cottage. In 1996, the Risden Student Union was built, offering classroom space, a kitchen, dining hall, and a training facility. A few years later, the educational services were contracted out to East Dakota Educational Cooperative. This was in June of 1998. And this helped the students to excel educationally as they had that extra service available. Today, McCrossan Boys Ranch can accommodate 53 boys in its group care program. In June of 1998, Brian Rogers became the executive director and continues to lead the ranch. In 2004, another big moment for McCrossan's was a gymnasium was built featuring a full-size basketball court, fitness center, locker rooms, offices, and a concession area. The ranch's school received full accreditation from the South Dakota Department of Education, allowing it to issue diplomas. And on May of this year, 5 boys graduated from McCrossan's Boys Ranch High School, marking the first official graduation ceremony. In 2007, the ranch began its first community-based program, an evening treatment program for at-risk youth designed to prevent out-of-home placements. Over the years, the ranch also developed other services such as reintegration programs, short-term assessments, respite care, and crisis stabilization. In 2019, the Robert L. Nielsen McCrossan Visitor Center was added to the campus thanks to a gift from a South Dakota farmer. This includes an archive room, historical exhibits, and a gift shop. They also give tours. Looking into the future, McCrossan Boys Ranch broke ground on a school addition in May of 2023, and construction is underway with updates being shared into the future.
You're muted, Carly.
Thank you. Um, Unfortunately, the Boys Ranch is no stranger to controversies. The common theme amongst its controversies is reports of abuse, mistreatment, and severe punishment. Now, I'm not claiming that any of these stories are true or not true, just sharing what people have said. Many people have shared their personal stories and stories of family members online on forums like Reddit, claiming that in the 80s they were forced to work things such as the rock pile, and when they got in trouble, they were used as free labor around the ranch to the ranch's financial benefit. Multiple people also shared about abuse they endured while living on the ranch, including physical, psychological, and sexual abuse. People felt like having a group of troubled boys who have been likely abused in their lives in close proximity was going to put them in a position to be taken advantage of by staff or other residents. There was also one specific case in the news back in June of this year where it was exposed that an employee at the ranch, Savannah, was having an inappropriate relationship with an underage resident. They were fired immediately and charged for sexual contact with a child under 18, as well as child pornography. The ranch executives did make a statement that they were unaware of this and immediately took action to remove her from the ranch. But on the other side of things, not everyone was sharing bad experiences at the ranch. There were many testimonials from past residents sharing their experiences. I wanted to share about Nate's story that I had found, and I thought it was really moving. In 1995, Nate's dad was a resident at McCrossen's Boys Ranch, and he credited them for teaching him a strong work ethic through working in the barn and with the animals, which is very special to McCrossen's Boys Ranch. And years later, his son, Nate, was struggling with his parents' divorce and was acting out at home, and they decided to try McCrossen's Boys Ranch to try to help him get on the right track. And when he first arrived, he struggled with the adjustment to the strict rules and the structure that is really apparent with McCrossen's Boys Ranch. He was defiant and sarcastic, and he didn't want to follow the rules. But as he was there, he began to spend a lot of time in the barn, just like his dad did. And working with the horses also helped him build a strong work ethic and life skills that he can use from now and forever. Aside from the barn, he also excelled in school and graduated high school in only 2 years. He gained a new respect for his family and learned to live independently and balance responsibilities through their independent living program. Even though the ranch wasn't always Nate's favorite place, he did state that it gave him his life back.
All right, so role of gender, race, religion on their board of members and their staff. So looking through the pictures on their website, it looks like most of the staff are mostly white, about equal parts men and women. Doesn't really address anything about religion. And says on their website that there are about 70 people that are part of their team, so that are being staffed by McCrossen's Boys Ranch. Looking through the foundation members and the board of directors, looks like it is mainly all older white men, not a lot of women. Didn't see any people of color on there. But this is just a picture of some of the board members. And clientele demographics. So McCrossen's Boys Ranch takes boys ages 9 through 20. Some of those older ones are in their independent living program. And they take any men who have experienced some type of conflict in their lives, whether that be delinquency, substance abuse, behavioral problems, just to name a few. So about 47.2% of their students are minorities. So 27.8% of that are Native students, 11.1% are Hispanic, and 5.6% are Black, with 52.8% of their students being white. The average ACEs score of these boys is 5.5, and 4 is considered a high ACEs score, adverse childhood experience score.
As of today, the mission of the McCrossen's Boys Ranch is still the same as it was when it was founded in 1950s by Melinda McCrossen, to provide new hope for a better life. And this mission is central to the programs and the services that are used at the ranch. For example, the Chief Development Officer, Christy Van Bastenhout, is quoted in an interview with the Sioux Falls Chamber of Commerce, stating, "The biggest goal we have is to improve graduation rates through South Dakota, especially here in Sioux Falls." Vaston House is in charge of the organization's fundraising and growth, so her sharing this really shows their vision for McCrossen's Boys Ranch and what is being shared with the donors as well. So now I just kind of wanted to go through some of their programs that they have um, that are offered at the ranch that really show how much it supports their mission and addresses some of the issues of the boys that are residents at the ranch. So the first one is group care. These are live-in residential units for boys that are 11 to 17, and they provide a structured routine to help them build responsibilities, social skills, life skills, and a sense of community within their peers. There also is a transitional program. This is a program for boys 16 to 18 who don't need that intense of a structure as the group care, but they also might not be ready for independent living. In this program, they also get to test out life skills and build on responsibilities and work on job seeking. And then their independent living preparation program, which is what Nate was part of, is a program for boys 17 to 20 where they live independently in apartments on the ranch and they continue learning about life skills and prepare them for life after graduation. They also have short-term assistance services. This is just a 30 to 60 day program for boys 12 to 18. And it's more of an assessment that is made for the boys' needs, and they can give recommendations for further services to their parents after they leave McCrossins. And then they also have a community reintegration program. And this helps the boys with their transition back into the community following any kind of residential facility stay, such as at a hospital, like a psychotherapy hospital stay. And they provide supervision, structure, counseling, and connections and other services to help them. To go into their services a little more that they provide psychiatric care and therapy. They have psychiatrists that come to the ranch weekly to work on any medication needs for the boys, and then they also have daily group sessions with licensed therapists where they work on things like anger management, corrective thinking, victim empathy, and other topics. The boys also have the ability to see a therapist individually if they would like, or do family sessions. And then they also work with chemical dependency, like Allie and Amanda both touched on. There are substance abuse issues with some of the boys, and so this has been really helpful for them. There's also restorative justice for the boys who have court-ordered community service hours that they need, and they make it a priority to fulfill these obligations by offering opportunities where they can go out into the community and get those hours outside of the ranch. Then they also have moral development activities like things like sports and recreational activities, and then spiritual programs where McCrossen's Boys Ranch offers on-camp worship services in their chapel. And they can also attend weekly Bible studies or be part of their Fellowship for Christian Athletes or any other activities. So more about their activities. They have athletics and recreational activities, like I mentioned, and they offer a lot of different sports for the boys to participate in. The school is sanctioned to play against other South Dakota high schools in things such as track and field. And they also offer other opportunities through YMCA sports. And there's even a gymnasium, like Amanda had said, and 2 weight rooms on campus. They also do cultural activities where McCrossins has a cultural advisor where they can work with the youth to maintain their cultural heritage, whatever that may be. And they can also learn about other people's cultural practices to gain cultural sensitivity. The school also offers cultural electives, and then as well as their equine and animal support that Ali had touched on.
So about 1/3 of the boys at McCrossins are Native American. They do have some things to help them incorporate their culture, things like that. But it was really difficult finding how these have progressed over time and how these have changed. There wasn't a lot of information at the visitor center, on any of the websites, anything like that. So this was kind of a trickier thing to find. But I think that it's important that they do have a cultural advisor and that they do incorporate that because those are really important pieces. And then some outside influential organizations. So one of the biggest ones that is their funding source is the Greater Sioux Falls Chamber of Commerce. Nearly $1.56 million was raised through Greater Sioux Falls Chamber of Commerce Community Appeals Campaign. They also have work with the Boy Scouts. They have their own 4-H club. The Sioux Wrangler 4-H club was chartered in 1970, and they also have their own Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
So some ways that the organization reflects social work principles, values, and ethics. So just going off of like the ASW Code of Ethics, there's a quote: social workers strive to ensure access to needed information, services, and resources, equality of opportunity, and meaningful participation in just decision-making for all people. McCrossan offers unique services and resources for struggling youth that may otherwise end up homeless and unable to attend school. And so in this way, they give this population a chance at new beginnings. When I interviewed the individual at the visitor center, she explained how essentially the boys that come here are typically not in a state of mind where they qualify for psychiatric care somewhere, but they're not stabilized enough with their behavior that they can stay at home or do well in a foster care situation. So this is definitely uh, a place that gives opportunity to give them a better chance at the future and help them have housing and access to things they wouldn't otherwise. As far as promoting social justice, just as I was saying before, helps a unique underserved population gain access to that safe housing, education, physical activity. The gymnasium, as we've mentioned, was a really big, important addition there. Unique therapeutic services. They have one of the only equine therapy service locations in the Midwest. And it's also unique. The visitor center coordinator explained in the sense that they don't actually do riding services. They actually do one-to-one with the horse, where the horse can typically sense if an individual is having reactivity over something. And so becoming more in tune with the horse and how they are responding to you allows the students to better gauge their own emotions, anxiety, tendencies towards aggression or things like that. So it's a very, very cool program. It also, having served a lot of Native youth, integrates back into some of their cultural aspects that they would have grown up with or that are similar to their culture. Also, gain access to mentors, coaches, and teachers, and gives them an opportunity to do volunteer work and community integration. They do a lot of work bringing the students into like nursing home facilities. They also do service projects, walking ditches, picking up trash and things like that, and other services that help them to contribute to the greater good of being part of a community. One of the biggest challenges with any organization, of course, is funding. 75%, according to Sarah Berman, again at the Visitor Center, 75% of their funding, or their budget rather, comes from the Department of Social Services, Corrections, and the Department of Education. The other 25% comes from grants, sponsorships, and fundraisers, so they have to get a little bit creative with that. Some of those include Sanford and Avera. They also have 3 large fundraisers they put on throughout the year, including rodeo, which is a really big hit in the local area and a great fundraiser for them. There's a number of dozens, she said, of other local sponsors that help out with some of that portion. Another challenge is safety working with this target population. As was mentioned earlier, the average ACEs score of 5.5 is quite high. 65% of the children come from abused or abandoned situations, and they do deal with issues of violence in some of their students and runaways. So these are definitely areas of concern that they have put a lot of thought into when they are considering their staffing, the training, and all of these things. And then, of course, as we'd mentioned earlier as well, the challenge of navigating stigmas in the community. So there definitely are some controversies and issues they've had with mistreatment and poor staffing choices that they have needed to work through solutions to prevent issues.
All right, so to summarize, Melinda McCrossan developed a trust to help boys who've experienced some type of conflict in their lives. McCrossan Boys Ranch has expanded into a large residential program, offering many different services to meet the needs of the clientele who come to their ranch. This nonprofit organization has given many boys the opportunity to grow and provide new hope for a better life.
And then these are our references. Also, Allie went to McCrossen's Boys Ranch Visitor Center and went and looked at and took pictures of all the infographics that they have in their museum portion. And also, Amanda did a phone interview with Sarah Berman, the Visitor Center coordinator, as well.